So this video of a Ford Mach-E scraping the concrete wall at speed down a highway and crashing spread all over the media, with people calling it an, quote, out of control EV. And I admit it's pretty hard to watch the end as well when he swerves off and hits the other car. I want to break it down properly because what actually happened is a lot simpler than that, and it shows how quick people are to actually blame the technology when it's really all about human behaviour. Hello folks, my name is Ben Alexander. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. Thank you to these people on screen. These are the Patreon members and the channel members on YouTube. And I've had a few days off because I've snowed under completely with lots of things to do with house repairs and lots of things going on. So thank you for being patient. The footage shows this Mach-E drifting across its lane. Sparks are flying from the body of the car as well. It's scraped all the way down the centre divider, that large concrete wall, before eventually the concrete wall wasn't there. And so then it swerved to the right and then crashed into a red car, which was obviously going fairly quickly, and then it caused that car to roll over. So to anybody who doesn't know the context, it looked like the EV had lost control and maybe turned to the right with its cruise control stuck on and would not stop. Almost like autopilot had gone wrong, or the car had glitched or something like that. It really did look like that, and actually that's what I thought at first, until I saw the report by the police. And of course, the internet jumped straight to the conclusions because, I mean, one of the weird things about it was the guy was in the car doing this and he was praying, and then he did a weird hand movement at the end and it was a bit odd. And it looked like he was praying for his life or something like that. The comments filled with the usual stuff, though, of course. So this is kind of one of the things I'll mention on this video is the quick assumption that it's the car's fault, and it's happening time and time again all around the world. EVs are dangerous. The batteries just do whatever they want. And this is why you can't trust Ford software. These are all comments I've read, by the way, just quoted them. So it reminds me of other times EV crashes have gone viral, and people have immediately blamed the car. Whereas if this was a petrol car, nobody would ever be saying, the engine must have got stuck with its cruise control on, and it must have been taken over by the engine or something like that, because they all have computers. They all have cruise control that's electronic these days with an engine, or hybrids and that sort of thing. So, there's real double standards here. And ICE cars literally crash, every minute of every day around the world. But it barely makes any news, of course. One EV crash, and suddenly the globe has this talking point to focus on. So I think it's because they can monetize an EV crash in various ways like no other. So the police statement came out very, very quickly after that. I think it was within the day after that. The driver wasn't some sort of victim of a runaway EV with software issues. He was just drunk, completely drunk out of his head. So all that speculation about the Mach-E going rogue or the symptoms failing was just wrong. It wasn't about the car at all. It was about a human who shouldn't have been driving in the first place. If you look closely, it seemed that he was actually praying, and that he did a weird swirly thing like this, and then he was... I thought that was a bit weird. I did replay that a few times myself. That's the part that gets lost in the noise. It wasn't autopilot. It wasn't Ford's driver assistance system that was glitchy. It wasn't a battery problem. It wasn't the electric car trying to take our to kill us, basically. It was someone making a dangerous choice and putting themselves behind the wheel of a car and others at risk as well. And they really did hurt the other driver that they smashed into, obviously, if you see the footage. And if you think about it, this isn't new. In the US alone, drunk driving is responsible for about 30% of all traffic-related deaths, which is over 13,000 lives lost every year. And worldwide, that figure is actually higher in some regions. That's not the worst in the world. But people don't headline those crashes as out-of-control Toyota or rogue BMW. They headline it as, drunk driver crash. Yet with EVs, the headline flips and the car gets the blame first, for no real logical reason here, even though we cause 94% of crashes because we're always checking our messages or leaving a voice message on our phone, or, drunk, something like that, or we're distracted or stressed or something. So part of it is fear of new technology. EVs are still relatively new in the public's mind. Autopilot, Blue Cruise, the different levels of autonomy, self-driving systems, they all sound very futuristic, and people don't really trust them yet, largely, I think. Another part is the narrative pushed online. EVs are always under a microscope. If a Tesla catches fire, and then it goes viral worldwide, but petrol cars catch fire every day, literally hundreds, all over the world. So here's a stat for perspective. Per 100,000 vehicles on the road, petrol cars are 20 times more likely to catch fire than EVs. And if you remember the story that there was a car that set on fire at, was it Luton Airport or Gatwick Airport? If you're English, you'll probably be able to remind me of that. Gatwick Airport, in a car park, set on fire. The mainstream media in Britain reported it as an electric vehicle fire for days, and they stopped as soon as they realised that it was actually a diesel car that set on fire. This Ford Mach-E crash became another way that people can just say that EVs aren't safe, even though the truth was the literal opposite of that. It was the antithesis. So the car did what any car would have done if a drunk driver was steering it into a wall. It turned into a wall. So this is really showing that EVs are being held to a completely different standard, an unreasonable standard, by a lot of people in society. It plays into this wider debate about whether EVs are safe, whether autonomy can be trusted, and whether car makers like Tesla and Ford should even be rolling out driver assist features. So there's a lot to talk about. You're very welcome to use the comments and say what you like in there. Don't get me wrong, EVs aren't perfect. Software updates have had issues. People have been misusing autopilot. There has been very genuine technical failures in rare cases as well, but those failures are very few and far between compared to the millions of accidents caused by humans every month. So if anything, this crash proves the opposite point. Actually, the danger isn't the EV, it's still the driver. Of course, that's what the data shows us. Let's actually look at the Mach-E itself for a second as well. So this isn't an unsafe car at all. The Mach-E has a 5-star Euro NCAP rating, lane keeping, automatic emergency braking, blind spot detection, Ford's Blue Cruise hands-free system in certain markets, not all markets. In terms of battery safety, the Mach-E actually uses liquid-cooled lithium-ion packs with multiple fail-safes to prevent runaway as well, thermal runaway. It's no more likely to lose control than a petrol car is to suddenly steer itself into a wall, which is a point to remember, really. So when you strip back the online drama, the crash doesn't say anything about the Mach-E's engineering. It says a lot about drunk driving, actually. Don't do it, it's terrible. Here's a stat worth repeating. Around 94% of all car crashes are caused by us, human error, drunk driving being the biggest one, speeding and distraction. So EVs might have a spotlight on them, which they definitely do. People are very critical because they can monetize that, but they're actually part of the solution, not the problem. Driver assist features reduce accidents, battery systems are heavily regulated, and brands like Ford and Tesla are constantly refining safety updates over the air on their vehicles, literally sometimes weekly, monthly, every few months. The Mach-E crash, as bad as it looked, is just one of thousands of drunk driving crashes that happened every week worldwide. And the only difference is because it's an EV, it gets blown up online basically, and there's no difference to any other person driving any other car into a wall, but with electric. So that's why we know about it. So the Ford Mach-E didn't go rogue. It wasn't autopilot. It wasn't it wasn't some EV software glitch. It was a drunk driver making a very bad decision that day. But because it was an EV, it sparked headlines, debates, and other another round of "can you trust these cars" sort of thing. So what do you think? Do we hold EVs to an unfair standard compared to petrol cars? And do you think that the media should do more to be accurate with these kinds of headlines? Or should the media be more accountable to these sort of headlines? And I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ben Alexxander. I really appreciate your time being here. And thank you again for being patient while I had a few days off. And thank you.